with all of the props that I just described, bolsters, blocks, blankets, cushions, and of course your mat, we will then begin our practice. And for those of you who've joined me this week already, we'll do it in the same way. We're starting in a crocodile. So I invite you to lie down on the front of your body for now. You could already use props to make yourself comfortable, but I think hands might be sufficient here, as you could stack your hands or build a triangle, touching your thumbs and index fingers together, like so, and then resting the forehead into the triangle. So either the triangle or your hands stacked one on top of the other. So you've got a place to rest your forehead on. Same as we did on Monday, just begin to soften into the arms, into the shoulders, and really just using them as a very subtle support without any tension whatsoever. Leg position, also same choices. You can turn your toes outwards, take your legs out as wide as you can, resting to the insides of your ankles with the toes pointing away from you. Alternatively, bringing the legs closer, touching big toes and letting the heels roll out to the sides. So entirely your choices. And maybe even you take a moment to just feel in which one is the right one. And as you find this resting pose, I'd ask you to pause. To pause and just acknowledge that you have this solid ground underneath you. I will draw your awareness today a little bit towards the tree. We're not using the tree excessively throughout the class, but there will be a few mentions of the posture of the tree. But I invite you today, and maybe even throughout the day, to focus on the qualities that a tree might represent for you. And the first quality that comes to mind while lying down in this crocodile position is just simply the groundedness, the rooting down into the earth. And I would love you to just get in contact with the ground underneath you and really feel that it's there. We will also begin our movements on the ground, so you can really start to trust the ground underneath you. Allowing, however, now your breath to deepen. And I invite you to just relax the whole abdominal area on the in-breath, and really even trying to stretch out into the sides of your waist, into your back. And when you're breathing out, using the pelvic floor or lower abdomen as you draw that in towards the tailbone. So you might start to feel, as this breath and movement together with the breath is quite strong, that you're starting to feel a slight movement around the pelvis, also a sign of your foundation. So we're using the pelvic floor as a support. In breath, of course, you let that go. You're feeling the expansion of the breath all around. And then on the out breath, you're drawing that skin under the navel towards your tailbone. Allow this breath to flow, the release and the strength to play with each other. One more breath. And I might refer to this way of breathing every now and then during the core strengthening movements. I will ask you to take your legs back into a hip distance, whether you had your feet touching or they were further apart. Flattening the tops of the feet down onto the ground. Breathing in just as you are. And while you're breathing out, activate again the lower belly and lift through the head and the chest, just as you are. And as you're breathing in, soften back onto the ground. Repeat that, just a simple activation, and with that a light lift of the head and the chest. And the breath in as you're softening, relaxing the body to the mat. One more, breath out, squeeze in and lift the upper body. And then release back down onto the floor. I will ask you to slide your hands in a different position. So you're coming to rest on the forearms. Placing your elbows roughly underneath the shoulders, keeping the arms apart and the hands flat down in front of you. Nothing changes in the legs. Now, for those of you who have lower back issues, this might already be too far. Please feel free at any stage of this practice to rest a bit earlier or to modify, to maybe drop back into one of the previous variations. If you can hold here, we'll let go of this breathing technique, and I would ask you for a moment to even relax the buttocks muscles, and then really drawing the skin under the navel towards the tailbone, getting a sense of moving the belly, although it might still be in touch, away from the floor. Holding this tension in the lower abdomen, bringing to lean more into the forearms and get a lift forward of the chest and maybe the gaze. See if you can keep a subtle breath flowing while you're holding here. Inhaling once more. And when you're next exhaling, release all the tension, bring the elbows out and release back to your mat. I will ask you again to place the elbows down in this way, and if you've chosen to wear a long sleeve shirt, you might bring the sleeves up a little bit. So elbows again underneath the shoulders. This time I ask you to tuck your toes under to start to activate through the legs. Again, you need to modify, please do so. Beginning to draw the skin under the navel towards the tailbone. And if you can, lifting your hips off the ground, coming into a forearm plank. Put a smile down onto your mat if you came up all the way. You could also do this kneeling if the full forearm plank is too strong. Holding here, one more breath only. Then release the knees down first. Then the hips, untuck the toes and spread out your elbows again to release to the mat. Beautiful. Now let's roll over onto our right hand side. Just lying down on the right hand side, you can bend the right elbow, resting your head into just for now. Keeping your legs long, but you might bend your right knee a little bit to find some balance on the ground. Stretching your left arm up and over the head, take a big breath in. And as you're breathing out, lift the upper body and squeeze elbow and knee together. Inhale, extend that. You could rest back down or you can float just above the ground. Exhaling, push into the elbow on the floor, bring elbow and knee together. Inhaling, extend the body. Exhaling, squeeze. So you can use the hand underneath the head as a support for your neck, or you can free flow the head as well. Inviting you for 2 more after this one. And then releasing back down onto the front of the body. Your same position, this crocodile-like style pose, but with the legs at about hip distance apart. Placing your hands this time next to the lower rib cage. Again, tucking your toes under. Once more dimension, you can go more gentle. If you can, lift the knees off the ground. Breathe in. And on the out breath, activate again. Pelvic floor. Maybe the hips start lifting. Maybe you're pushing yourself up. I've got a weekday today coming into plank from the ground. Your hips should have been in one line with the body. Again, the option of lowering the knees if this is too strong. Staying here, breathing in and out. One more breath. And then once more, lower the knees. Keep the elbows in as you lower back down onto the mat. Now rolling over onto your left hand side. Do the same here. You might bend your left elbow, resting the head for a moment, pretending we are comfortable. You could have a light bend into the left knee for stabilization, but the right leg will be out long. Reaching the right arm over the head. Breathe in, find length. And while you're breathing out, lift the head, the chest, elbow, and knee coming towards each other. Inhale, find length. Exhale, squeeze them together. So you're using the elbow on the ground as we continue this very same movement. You can use your hand, the lower hand, to support the head and with that the neck. But if it's not necessary, just keep flowing freely. Think about the stretch as you're inhaling and the squeeze as you're exhaling. Last one. And this time rolling down onto your back. As we're on the back, arms long, legs long, let's take a deep breath in through the nose. Breath out of the mouth. See if you can sit up into a boat. I know that came sudden, and if you need an extra breath on the floor to prepare, do so. Then let's roll over as we come onto hands and knees this time. Setting yourself up as usual, the knees hip distance, the hands about a shoulder distance apart. I will ask you to lift the right leg as you're breathing in, lengthening backwards. And as you're breathing out, bring the knee into the chest. That's easy, isn't it? Let's take a breath in and lengthen again. Out breath, bring it in. Now bring the knee straight back to the ground. Yes, only 2 rounds. This is to prepare. Lifting the left leg back, breathing in. Exhaling, bring the knee to the nose. One more time. This time, extend the leg, tuck the toes under. If your 4 stance, however, is strong enough for you, please return to it. Otherwise, we'll make that a 3-legged plank. Inhaling, exhaling, bring the knee to the nose. Inhale, 3-legged plank. Exhale, knee to the nose. Repeat for 3. 3, 2, 1. End in a plank. Bring the knees to the mat and stretch back into child's pose. Allowing yourself a couple of breaths. If you need to move your arms, wrists, shoulders, please do so. On the next inhalation, returning onto all fours. Again, please set yourself up. The hip distance sometimes changes a little bit. So we will begin very simple. Right toes tucked under, knee lifted if you want to take it this far. Otherwise, both knees on the ground. Extending the left leg back. On the out breath, bring the knee to the nose. Inhale, three-legged plank. Exhale, knee to the nose. 3 more. And joyfully, at the last one, we will end in a plank. The knees might come to the ground, and we will sit back towards the heels one more time. This time, roll the spine in, bring the hands onto the mat, tuck the toes under, lift your knees, and come to stand in a forward fold. On the in-breath, lengthening the spine forward. On the out-breath, soften back down. Inhale here. And as you're exhaling, begin to curl the body up into standing. Lifting the shoulders as you roll them back and down. Maybe give yourself a few wiggles. We will take our practice that we've done lying down onto a standing position. So let's step our feet a little bit wider apart. You can allow the toes of the right foot to turn slightly outwards, and we'll bring a bend into the right knee. You might either slide your right forearm down onto the thigh, or you can point your fingertips down. Please take care that the knee is still in line with your toes. We will reach the left arm over the head. See if you can find length now from the fingertips of your left hand to the outer edge of the left foot. This appears quite comfortable and is a preparation. I'd ask you to then roll in, bend the other knee, changing sides. As you might turn the right foot out a bit further, bringing again knee and toes in alignment, forearm can rest down or fingers can point down, and then extending the right arm over the head. Once more, spend a breath here to ground to the outer edge of the foot and to reach into the fingertips of the right hand. So these are postures. If for today you would like to go a little bit more gentle, you could just stay with the hold of this pose. You would still get the benefit of strength into the ground and length into the side. Now let's release that again. Changing side. So you might swivel your feet around. I prefer here my forearm on the thigh. I need that little bit of extra support. So reaching the left arm back over the head. Now let's find some balance. Hopping the left foot in. Bringing it off the ground. Breath out, draw elbow and knee together. Inhale, extend. Exhale, bring in. Few more if you can hold your balance. If not, use a piece of furniture or the wall. Last one, a squeeze in. Extend, gently land the toes. Release into the center. Both knees bend for a moment. Take a breath in to lengthen and lift through the front of the body. And on the out breath to round into the back. Hopefully this helped as a release. We will change sides. So your left knee is bent, right foot is grounded, reaching the arm over the head. Again, I prefer the forearm on the thigh. You now get an idea why that is. Let's start to peel the right foot off the ground. Finding your balance or aiming for it. And on each exhale, squeezing elbow and knee together. Inhale, find your length, embrace all of that imbalance too. If your balance is off, as I said before, just use anything to lean against. It's more about the movement here. Last one. And either rushed or preferably elegantly landing down. I would ask you again to turn the toes outwards, to place the hands on top of the thighs, to open through the front of the body. And this time, as you're rounding, come all the way up into standing. Taking a deep breath in to stretch the arms up, using fists of fire, come back into your goddess squat. Inhale, stretch up, breath out of the mouth now. Few more, inhale. Deep breath in and release the arms. Have a sigh, wiggle your feet a little bit closer and find the stance. I think by now you've joined me in a warmed up body. We will have a short switch into a more restorative practice that from your feedback I know you're quite enjoying, and that is the movement of the arms together with the tree. To gain that composure to even get there, stand on both feet and come into mountain pose. So feet now about hip distance apart, inviting you to really ground down through the feet, to keep the toes open and spread out onto the floor, a light activation of your glutes and the palms of the hands facing forward. Closing the eyes or steadying your gaze. And allow yourself a few deeper breaths in and out of the nose. No strain, no pattern, just breathing to find the balance of breath and to slow down the heart rate. If you still remember the practice, you could even keep your eyes closed. Otherwise, you might choose to open. Breathing in to lift the arms out and over the head. Breathing out to bring the hands to the chest. Inhale just to turn the fingers forward. Exhale to extend the arms to the front. Open the palms of the hands as you breathe in, open the arms. And out breath to release the arms down by the sides. Movement of the arms stays the same. I keep guiding you. Now bringing your right foot into a gentle supported tree. So allowing your big toe to remain on the floor and just having that slight outward rotation of the knee. Breathing in to lift the arms out and over the head. Exhaling, hands to the chest. Inhale, turn the fingers forward. Exhale, extend the arms forward. Inhale, open the arms and the palms. And as you exhale to release the arms, release the foot too. We will change sides. Other heel comes up, knee opens out. Breathing in to reach the arms overhead. Breathing out, hands to the heart. Inhale to turn the hands. Exhale to extend the arms. Inhale, open the arms. And as you exhale, releasing the foot and the arms back down. Now, we'll repeat that again. If you like, you can bring the foot up a little bit higher, lifting the arms in breath. Exhale, hands to the heart. However, if you can't hold the tree with the foot higher, preferably leave the foot on the ground as it's too distracting otherwise. Inhale, we're opening. And exhaling to land. Transition straight to the other side. In breath. Lifting the arms. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale to turn the hands. Exhale to extend the arms. Inhale to open and landing as you're breathing out. I invite you into one last round to each side. This time, I recommend to keep the big toe on the ground and to close the eyes. See how you go. If it's not working, steady gaze is a good one too. Let's begin. Breathing in, arms lifting up. Out breath, hands to the heart. In breath, turn the hands forward. Exhale, extending the arms. Inhale, open the arms. Exhale, release and step to the ground. Other side. Breathe in, lifting your heel and your arms. Exhaling, hands to the heart. Inhale, turn the fingers. Exhaling, extending the arms forward. Inhale, open the arms. And as you release, come to stand in mountain pose. And just feel. There might be an imprint of the tree still in your body, although it was moving. Noticing where your energy sits and how you're feeling in general. Then take another deep breath and reach the arms out and up again. Soften the knees a bit and fold as you're exhaling. Half lift when breathing in. And then coming down to sit. Extending the legs forward. Now you might want to use, no you won't. I actually discourage you to use something underneath the buttocks for now. I will ask you instead if you have trouble bending forward or lower back issues to bend your knees. We'll move into a forward bend. So I like to lift my sit bones or walk out through the sit bones to broaden them down onto the ground, keeping that solid foundation. Take a breath in now, reach your arms out and up. And when breathing out, fold a little bit forward, bring your hands towards the chest. And then slide the hands out over the legs as you breathe in. Spine might still be long. And when you're breathing out, just folding a little bit. Hopefully you're feeling a lengthening sensation across the backs of the legs, maybe elsewhere in your back line. I will ask you to stay with that sensation and deepening the lengthening on an out breath. Now this might be a good choice for you to start activating the lower abdomen as you're exhaling again, drawing the skin underneath the navel towards your tailbone. And noticing how that might impact your forward bending movement. And that movement is very subtle. It's not necessarily visible from the outside. Stay with just stretching into this forward fold. 2 more breaths. Activating your inner center. Then after that breath, inhale, come halfway out. Your hands could rest somewhere against your legs, your spine becomes long. I will ask you now to slide the right foot up, as you might hug the knee in a little bit. Taking your left hand and reaching for the outer edge of your right foot. Now bringing the other hand behind you and entering into a twist. If we got the twist, good. Stay in it, 1 more breath. Then lean just that little bit back and take your foot off the ground. If you can't reach the foot, outside of your leg is just perfect as well. So within the twist, we're holding the foot in the air. If it feels right, you can lift the foot. I'm on purpose saying not to straighten the leg. It's okay if you can reach there. Make sure you've only got your fingertips behind you and you're sitting in between the sit bones. Everything from here is a further extension, as you could slide your left foot up. If that's feeling good, lift the left foot off the floor. Maybe lift the arm behind off the floor and extend that arm backwards. Option also to extend the other leg. See if you can hold and balance until you're releasing, opening the arms into a full boat pose. Then bring the feet down, hold on at the back of the thighs, lengthen the spine. And as you're breathing out, leaning back forward over your thighs. So keeping the spine long again, let's slide the right leg out all the way. Drawing in the left knee. Take your right hand, bring it to the outer edge of the foot or somewhere against the leg if this is too much. Taking your left hand fingertips behind you just lightly onto the floor. And as you're exhaling here, we're automatically in a light twist. Now from this twist, lean a little bit back into between the sit bones. Keep the fingertips light behind you and maybe lifting the foot off the ground. Your choice to extend into the leg or to lift the foot, nicer words. Your choice from here is to lift the back arm off the ground, extended as you're maintaining your twist. Everything is optional. Sliding the right foot up, maybe lifting the foot off the floor, maybe even extending the leg. Please try and stay between the sit bones if you're experimenting with me. And then release. As we center ourselves in the boat, knees can be bent, legs can be straight. Take a deep breath in, reach the arms up. And a breath out as you lower down onto the floor. So, once you're lying down on the ground, have a good wiggle, have a stretch, move the body in a way that feels right for you at the moment. We'll do a teeny weeny bit more core strengthening before we're trying to release. Asking you to now step your feet onto the mat. Let's bring the right hand behind the head. If it feels right, you can add the right leg as a movement. If you think this will be too strong for you, you can leave the right foot on the ground. As you're breathing in, lift the head, the chest, maybe the right knee comes into the chest. And as you're breathing out, straightening the right leg and reaching your right arm across the outside of the left knee. Inhale, hand behind the head, maybe knee to the chest. Exhaling, extend and twist. Inhale and exhale. Go for a few more. Maybe your foot is on the ground and that is plenty. Maybe you're even resting the head down in between. Only 3, 2, 1, and then release all the way down onto the floor. Let the arms open for a moment, their knees fall in towards each other, and take a deep breath. Just notice you might have worked up some tension here and there, which is okay for now. We'll try and release that in a moment. Coming to the other side, so begin by separating the knees. Left hand goes behind the head. Again, the movement of your left leg is optional entirely. You could leave it on the ground. Right arm stays on the ground anyway. So while you're breathing in, bring the knee up, lift the head and the shoulders. And as you're breathing out, reach your arm across to the other side, maybe extending the left leg. Inhale, open, knee comes in. Exhale, lift, maybe extend. Choosing your option, and as I mentioned before, on the other side, there is a chance to rest the head down if your neck doesn't feel quite right in this movement. There is, of course, the option of keeping your left foot or stepping it to the ground instead of extending. 3, 2, 1, and release. Let your legs come out long, relax the whole body for a moment. If this position is uncomfortable, of course, can you keep your feet on the ground? Now, let's start the recovery from all of this strength with a little prop underneath the hips. You can choose and make this a bolster or a block or anything that represents that for you. Now, I will choose a bolster and I will step my feet onto the ground. You might just simply copy that. Lift the hips up like a bridge pose and pull your support underneath. Now, if you are using a block or something hard like a block underneath, I recommend to just have that maximum under the tailbone and leave the vertebrae free. Whereas if it is a bolster, you could quite comfortably rest over it as the spine beautifully just aligns with that softness of the bolster. Once you've found your comfort spot, you might ground the shoulders properly and let your arms open out to the sides. Allow yourself to rest there for a while. Maybe your eyes are closed and you're turning the awareness now inwards. Inviting a little bit of stillness into this pose. And although this is a more restorative variation, I will still ask you to take care of your own body. If there's pain somewhere, maybe reduce the height of the hips. Or maybe you're just lying down altogether. Let's see what it feels like to let the left knee fall out sideways, just gently before you're sliding the left leg out long. Once the leg is out long, you might actively point down into your left toes, aiming to bring some space here across the left side. If you feel this is nice, you might also choose to extend your left arm all the way over the head. Keeping the arm ideally long if your space allows you to. Taking a breath in and then allow a soft sigh and think about the area that we're expanding. Allowing 2 more sighs, breathing in and out. 1 more. If you lifted your arm, please bring the arms back by, but yet away from the sides of the body, and sliding your left foot back up onto your ground. There's likely a fair bit of a difference between the 2 sides now, inviting you to explore to let the right knee fall out to the side, just briefly, so you can slide the leg out comfortably. Turning then the leg to align as you might reach down into the right toes. Just pause here. What do you notice? What can you feel? The feeling might not be altogether pleasant, but as you explored on the other side, there could be a fairly pleasant outcome to this length we're creating. If it feels right, you might extend your right arm all the way over the head, finding even more length now between maybe the fingertips of a fully extended arm, or in my case, the elbow, down into the right toes. A moment to indulge in that as we're adding 3 thighs to it, breathing in. As if you're surrendering to the length you're bringing in. 1 more. Returning your right arm by the sides, and then either sliding the right foot back onto the floor or even also extending the left leg for a moment. Remain quite active as you're reaching forward into your toes. We will stay here 2 more breaths. Before you will slide your feet back up onto the ground. We're kind of maintaining this length for a little while, as I will ask you to stay on your support if it is soft. If you've got a block underneath, please lift the hips and maybe instead bring a rolled up cushion or blanket underneath the hip. We're rolling over onto the left-hand side. You can choose now to use your left arm as a cushion and as a support. I like blocks underneath the head, which might not be that soft, but gives you that extra little bit of height. A thicker cushion might be an alternative for that. So once you're here, you might explore to extend your legs out again, quite long. As we're allowing now some space to come over the right side. Your choice to let your arm, the right one, fall over the head onto the ground. You can close the eyes at any stage at this part of the practice, staying with the extension into the side and aiming to surrender over your support. If you enjoy sighing, this is a good moment for 3 good sighs, be they noisy or soft. Staying present with what you're feeling. Once you completed your breath, Release your arm back onto your side. Remove the cushioning that you've had underneath the head and roll back down onto your back. You can use the feet on the ground to lift your hips back up onto your support. We will actually stay here for a moment. So if you're using your block again, make sure it is just underneath the sacrum, inviting you now to lift the feet off the ground. This might feel nice all together, but if it seems beneficial, you could also extend the legs up towards the ceiling. See if you can trust and find a way to rest more on the upper back than actually bringing weight to the shoulders. Making sure that there's no real weight in the head on the floor other than the head itself, so that the neck is free to release. If you prefer to move a little bit, you could squeeze your toes or move through your feet and ankles. If you prefer the stillness here and just would like to observe the flow downwards, you could do that too. Again, I invite you to remain here for 3 breaths, or size your choice. Once you have completed those, soften the knees back into the chest if they were extended, and stepping 1 foot down after the other. Now we will roll over onto the right hand side. So you might want to change again the prop underneath, allowing it to be soft so that the hip isn't hurting. And you can either use your right arm as a cushioning or use a block underneath your head. Carefully extending your legs out long. It's good when you've got a bit more space there. Allowing yourself to experience potential space over the left side of the body. And if it feels right, you can let your left arm fall to the ground over the head. Allowing yourself to be here, maybe 2 sighs, or just simply 3 breaths. Once you have completed, please remove the cushioning again from underneath your head. Rolling with support of feet on the ground onto your back. Keep the feet about hip distance and start to squeeze your buttocks as you're lifting up into a bridge, sliding your bolster or other support out from underneath. Before you really take your time to touch down 1 vertebra after the other onto the floor. Once you're relaxed on the ground again, I recommend to bring both knees up. You could take your hands 1 flat onto each kneecap and then begin to circle your legs away from each other. Changing the direction. Then pause. Let your feet come down to the ground. And I invite you now to, if you haven't had a chance yet, to gather everything that you need for relaxation. And it could be as simple as putting your top back on, your socks. Also keeping either a cushioning nearby for support of a knee, or a block, if that works better for you. So please finding that extra bit of support as we're practicing a lying down tree pose. So when I lie down comfortably, I usually have a thin cushion underneath the head, and I use a blanket, and you can use the blanket too. The tree won't hold you away from the blanket. All I'm saying is now that we're practicing a tree pose using either cushion or a block. So we will find a very comfortable position for the upper back, just as we do in Shavasana, and actually leaving the arms out as away from the body. I will demonstrate this on my left side, but please begin with the right. Letting your right knee fall out towards the side. And for some people, this will be very comfortable, but you will have a likelihood that the left hip is taking off the floor. We will also extend into the left leg. So that's where the comfort might be necessary, as in popping a cushion or a block underneath the right knee. Touching potentially the sole of the right foot somewhere against the inside of your left leg. Arms, as I said, stay restful, shoulders soft. You might be closing the eyes again or steadying your gaze towards the ceiling. Same as with all the postures we've practiced before. Please change it. Release into full Shavasana, whatever you might need if this is causing you trouble in the body. So don't force yourself. I invite you otherwise to stay there, and if that is not possible, please visualize the pose instead. I will share with you a story or words about the Yogi Tree. Since ancient times, yogis have made the forest their favorite place for yoga practice. The trees were their home, providing them with shelter and an abundance of food in the form of fruits and nuts. The forest also symbolizes a pristine world that was conducive to a life of contemplation without material possessions. The shade beneath the tree was thought to be the best place for a student to receive spiritual knowledge from a teacher. In fact, among many spiritual traditions, we see examples of enlightenment taking place under a tree. I will invite you to change over to your left leg. You might step the right foot to the ground and then the left, before letting your left knee fall out to the side, and you might place again support underneath. It could be a surprise that there it feels a bit different, so making potential new choices, and then sliding the right leg out long and finding a restful state in your tree, or as mentioned before, Shavasana. Allowing yourself to settle into this shape. In ancient times, there was a prayer that people recited when they took up residence on a patch of the forest. Freely translated, the prayer reads, "My dear trees, creepers, insects and animals, please excuse me for taking a little piece of land to build my hut on. May we live together in harmony and peace." Many yogis and sages lived in the forest where they built ashrams or hermitages, usually consisting of some simple huts. The inhabited forest was known in Sanskrit as tapovan, or forest of austerity, a reference to the life of simplicity lived there, free of worry about material belongings. In a broader sense, the forest refers to the world, the whole of creation, and we are part of it. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna compares the world to a banyan tree. With its many branches, where all species of life wander. A forest is vital for the planet's health. The leaves of the trees are the lungs of the world, producing oxygen for us to breathe, while the roots retain rainwater and prevent the soil from eroding. I will invite you now to change your posture into Shavasana. So you might pull a bolster underneath your knees, or whatever else you might need to do to find complete stillness. Staying with the image of the tree, though. The scripture Harivamsa narrates how Krishna once brought the heavenly Parijata tree, also known as night flowering jasmine, from Indra's heavenly kingdom as a gift of love for his beautiful queen Satyabhama. Like the tree transplanted from a heavenly planet to a garden outside Satyabhama's palace, Rikshasana, our tree pose, represents the flowering of spirituality in a material environment. In this pose, one foot is rooted deeply in the earth's soil, while the joined palms reach to the spiritual sky, channeling the blessings that come from above. Begin to gently deepen your breathing. Rattle your leaves, wiggle your roots, or stretch out long from the earth to the sky. Preparing yourself to come into a seated pose, which could be supported if that's more comfortable. Eyes closed throughout the process or once you arrived, or steady gaze if preferred. Once you're seated, let your hands touch the ground, the earth by each side. Really getting that sense of groundedness through the floor, the earth underneath. With a deep breath, we will reach the arms up, together all our blessings. And then pausing the thumbs at the third eye point. Approaching the rest of this day or week with kind thoughts. Pausing at the lips for gentleness in our words. And pausing at the heart for acting with love. From this space we will extend to each other. Namaste.